Smells so good. Oh, hi guys. Fall, autumn, leaves changing, Thanksgiving coming up, Halloween, all that jazz, and apple picking and blueberry picking and all that stuff. And I went apple picking and made up this absolutely delicious apple crumble. Just incredible. You're gonna love it. So let me show you how to do this. Okay guys, what I got here is a nice bag of apples. We went apple picking. It was kind of fun, and I might do a video of that later, but anyway, let's get started with our apple crumble. So to get started, I'm gonna grab up, I don't know, about 8 medium-sized apples and peel them up. Of course, how many apples you use would be totally dependent on the size of your baking dish and how big of an apple crumble you want, but 8's about good for me. And this little peeler here, guys, I picked up at Amazon. It was only like $6 or $7. I just love it. I'll put a link below if you're remotely interested. Then we shall half and then go ahead and quarter these, and I usually divide them into, I'd say about 8ths or something like that. Of course, take out that core that nobody really wants. And I am going to cut mine into smaller, bite-sized chunks. I don't know, something like this. This looks pretty good to me. Now, some people, guys, cut their apples into wedges, something like this, but I like them in the smaller chunks. They're just nicer in the crumble, but, you know, it's entirely up to you. Okay, we shall just add those cubed up apples into our baking dish, and like I say, it totally depends on, you know, how big of a apple crumble you want. This dish in particular is, I'd say about 9 by 14. Next up, in with one of the superstars, some cinnamon min, and this is totally a personal preference, but I put in, about a teaspoon or so. And it's funny, you know, my mom used to make a killer apple pie, but she just laced it with cinnamon, and maybe that's where I got acquired my taste for cinnamon. I don't know. Follow this by a nice dusting of nutmeg, I'd say, about half a teaspoon, something like that, depending on your choice again. A little crack of salt, but half a teaspoon. And then 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And last but not least, half a cup of sugar. Yeah, I'm using brown, but you can use white as well. I just like the brown better. Then grab up the old spoon and mix everything together. You could have done this in a bowl too, but I'm just conscious about dirtying too many dishes. I hate washing them. But isn't this looking pretty good? I don't know. I think so. But you can really smell that cinnamon and nutmeg coming through, and I just love that smell. Alrighty, we'll just set this aside for a few minutes. Now it is my favorite time, guys. Time for the crumble. And we shall start the show with half a cup of all-purpose flour into a bowl. Another half cup of plain old rolled oats. I just love rolled oats, especially for breakfast. Anyway, another half a cup of brown sugar. Again, grab up the old spoon or spatula and mix everything together. Then and only then I'm going to add in 6 tablespoons of cubed up cold butter. Of course, go ahead and throw that into the mix. Then just grab up the old pastry cutter and kind of combine everything together until a crumble forms. Now I'm using the pastry cutter here, guys, but you can use your hands too. Just make sure your butter is super cold, and you get that nice effect of making the crumble with your hands. You guessed it, I'm going to grab up that crumble and simply sprinkle and spread it over top of that apple mixture, and this is beginning to look and smell absolutely incredible, guys. And this is the way it should be looking, at least in my opinion, that crumbly, rustic texture. Yum. Okay, now we're going into a 350-degree Fahrenheit, 180 Celsius preheated oven for about 35 minutes. After about 35 minutes, we are done, and this is looking and smelling, oh my goodness, so good. I mean, my mother and grandmother would both be proud. Did I say grandmother? Grandmother. Whatever, you know what I mean. Okay, after letting this cool for a tiny wee bit, we're gonna cut into this and see what we have. Oh, for a crying in the ditch. Just look at this, my friends. Oh, so good. Of course, we simply have to plate this up on my fancy-dancy plate here. And yes, oh yes indeed, you must have some vanilla ice cream over the top of that apple crumble, which is a bit hard to get because it is frozen hard. But I did get it, and just look at this. Absolute delight. And I had a bit of liquid from the crumble in the bottom of the dish, so I'm just going to drizzle this over top of the ice cream. And there it be, guys, our simply delicious apple crumble, homemade, easy, and ever so good. I mean, as I always say, life does not get any better. Okay, let's see what we got here, guys. This is so good. It's crispy on the top. Those apples are just delicious. The cinnamon, that little hint of nutmeg. Just the perfect texture. You have to make this, guys. It is so good. Of course, as always, I'm gonna have more. So good.